One. Hi, and welcome to another fantastic Sonic Talk podcast, episode 97. I am your occasional host, GX, aka Chris, aka the Spin Dash, aka whatever. And we've got a show for you tonight. We've got there's been stuff this month. There's been so much stuff. There's been Sonic Origins Plus. There's been the New Frontiers update thing. And there's been Knuckles87. Hey, Nux.
It has been a shockingly newsy month this month.
Oh, yeah.
Like, some of this news came just in the nick of time because suddenly I had time to write stuff for Sonic Stadium, and I did.
No kidding. And we have Shigs.
Hey, how you doing, everyone?
Do you want a legitimate answer to that? Because I have a legitimate answer. I'm
How you doing, man?
I'm so freaking tired. I am so freaking tired. Oh, the crunch is real in working in the generally poor, ill-defined development space. It is real, and I am tired from it. Knuckles, what are you tired from this month?
Tired from all these games I've been playing. I'm kidding. sort of. Shockingly, I have continued to be able to play games lately, which I haven't had a streak like this in a very long time. Just recently, so earlier this month, around when the Mario Kart 8 DLC came out, I finally played last year's Mario Kart DLC, specifically the stuff that came out in December, and the stuff that just came out in March. And boy, howdy, am I still just having fun with it with these new tracks. I am really enjoying this stuff that Nintendo's been putting out. Like, you know, they aren't all the best Mario Kart tracks, but I think they all meet a minimum quality of good, and some of them are like the new Yoshi track, really cool. That is a really cool track, the Yoshi's Island track. Mostly, I really just enjoy the visuals, I admit. It's kind of weird having a Mario Kart track that is so steeped in fan service. Like, this almost feels like a track that Sumo Digital would make, because it is just full of all of the of all this Yoshi's Island stuff. You know, remember this, remember that, and I don't, because I've never really played Yoshi's Island, but I'm at least familiar with the iconography from that game, and it's really cool seeing this stuff realized with HD visuals and such, and like. And there are some like nifty track tricks. Like there's this near the finish line. There's this like path that will just like appear above the main track. That if you're flying high enough, you can like land on it, and it'll give you an edge over the people below you. And I legit want a race like that. But just like, but on the whole, like, I'm just having these tracks are all just supremely fun to play in the Mario Kart 8 engine, and even though like a lot of these are Mario Kart Tour tracks, like I personally don't notice. Like most of these don't really feel like mobile.
No, because not a lot of people play the mobile one.
Yeah, I
they do feel like
Mario
new tracks
Kart Tour
to me too.
But I really am hoping that they kind of keep this going a bit longer and just kind of make this Mario Kart Ultimate, you know, get us a third booster pass, which I did the math. They could conceivably do something like that if they really wanted to, just like recycling future Mario Kart Tour content. But regardless, like, I'm just happy we got this.
I mean, I'm guessing that at some point, whenever we do get whatever the successor to this is, like, some of those tour courses will find their way into it, much as they did the DLC here.
Yeah, true. Although I'm not really sure how you follow up Mario Kart 8 at this point, because Like, it's kind of like Smash Brothers Ultimate, where Mario Kart 8 just has so much content, and it is such a definitive version of this franchise that I almost don't even feel like we need another Mario Kart. Like, I would be perfectly content if they just took this game and, I don't know, kept putting new stuff in it, if that's even, like, technologically feasible. I don't know if it is.
Quite honestly, for me, the way that you do the next Mario Kart is, despite the crack that Jason made earlier, is probably akin to what they're doing with the mobile game, except without, the gotcha stuff.
So like a live service Mario
Technically
Kart
making a
game.
crack. I've played it before, but I still I don't recognize a lot of these. They're not popular tracks. They don't really.
Gotcha.
A lot of people know them that well.
I was very excited as someone who did play those to see them and kind of see the way that they are reinterpreting those original tracks to make them, more traditional tracks. Because a lot of what they did for the actual Mario Kart Tour tracks is you would just have the track, and then you would have like as many remixes of the track as they needed to sort of fill out a season of it. So,
and you know what? I'm enjoying the city tracks like Amsterdam, Berlin, Singapore. Yeah. These are some really cool tracks with some really neat visuals, especially Singapore. Singapore just
I wouldn't mind them doing cool. I wouldn't mind them doing a full Mario Kart World Tour like HD version on the Switch, just with all those tracks.
Mario Kart World Tour. What do you mean?
Like the whole, like how they have it on mobile, except for the Switch.
I mean, they're already bringing the World Tour courses to Mario Kart 8.
I know some of them, but not all of them, right?
I mean, like they certainly have enough room to bring in all of the ones they've made so far. Like that would be I would expect that they would bring in what's left, like Los Angeles. But okay, so in addition to that, I've also been playing the DLC mode for another game. I don't remember if I talked about if I talked about Hitman last time I was last show. I've been playing a lot of that. I've been playing a lot of that over the last few months, but much more recently, I've been getting into this mode called Hitman Freelance, which takes all of the maps from the Hitman World of Assassination trilogy, and essentially, like, it gives you different targets and a different objective. Like it's a Hitman. I think the term they use is roguelike.
Oh yeah.
Where basically, like you technically are supposed to only get one shot at a target, and if you mess it up, it's gone, and you lose some money, and you lose anything you brought on the mission. And if you mess up too much or miss the final target in a campaign, then the campaign fails, and you have to start the whole thing over. And like the whole premise of this is like you're the hitman, you're Agent 47, and you're in this safe house. It's in the middle of nowhere. And at the safe house, you have an underground basement full of guns and weapons and stuff, and you like, and over the course of, and the goal is to from this base, you are taking out all these criminal syndicates from across the world by targeting the people that are a part of those syndicates, and then eventually you target and kill the top person. And like over the course of the mode, you're supposed to like you bring back things that you picked up on the mission, and you can reuse them for future missions. And anything that you leave behind or have when you die, you lose. And so like there's a decent amount of consequences for this, providing you're playing it the way you're supposed to. And it's a lot of fun because it gives each mission a lot more, much higher stakes than the regular game. Now, of course, there's a way to cheese it, which I have been doing more recently just to finally start building up my money because I've been failing at this mode so much. Where if you cancel out of the entire game, you can start the mission over. It's inconvenient, but it works. But regardless, like for me, it doesn't sacrifice much of the tension. And I do plan on not doing this once I have to stop doing this once I have the money built up. But like it's a really fun mode, and it really kind of plays to the strengths of the Hitman formula. Probably better than the central game does, because it really plays up on the sandbox assassination nature of the game. And in addition to assassinating targets, you also have this home that you can remodel, and you unlock things as you level up as you level up through the mode. You eventually gain access to other parts of the house, like the bedroom and the outdoors, and you can unlock all these vehicles, and you can redesign the house and stuff, do interior decorating.
I'm hearing some Agent 47 Animal Crossing.
Yes. And you can also just have him do things at his house, like drink wine or mop or cut wood. And it's stupid, but you know what? It's kind of interesting.
But also, Hitman is kind of stupid. That's kind of the pleasure of it.
Yeah. So I'm at the moment, I'm finding this mode to be pretty addicting. And I'm looking forward to getting a little further in it, and then going back into failing hard mode once I've got a couple of guns.
Does it have a defined ending, or does
sort
it
of basically you do, I think, 4 campaigns that get progressively more difficult. And provided you don't fail any of those campaigns and start over, I think there does appear to be a set number where you complete all the campaigns and then you win. And I don't know what happens when you do that. I would assume that you probably get a big payout and then you can start over from the beginning. But there is some kind of ending to it.
Okay.
And finally, as we all know, the 3DS and Wii U eShops closed recently, but no one really cares about the Wii U. So I've mostly been playing 3DS lately.
I care about the lack of ability to get Xenoblade Chronicles X going forward. That's about the extent of my sadness.
You did get it, right?
I do have game. Yes, but I also want others to be able to play it. So put it on Switch, please.
Yeah, that game really needs to hit the Switch. I am shocked that it hasn't. Because, it is perfectly playable on single screen. Dual screen, it is better in dual screen, in my opinion. It's better having a second screen with a map and easy access to your inventory and all that stuff. But you don't need it, And so, Nintendo really needs to stop making new Xenoblade games and just port the damn thing. But regardless, so because the eShop was closing, I hacked my 3DS, and that has oddly enough encouraged me to start playing through my backlog again, my actual legitimately obtained backlog. The main beneficiary of this has been Metroid Samus Returns, which is a game I've been which is a game I've been playing off and on for years. I bought this game when it came out because I'm a big Metroid fan, and I even went ahead and I beat the remake of the first game in preparation for it. And I'm not letting myself play the new Metroid, the Dread, until I beat this and Super and Fusion. But I keep getting stuck. I keep getting stuck on this game. And no, unlike Hitman, I'm not cheating. I'm playing this game legitimately still so far. And I'm as of today, I have finally managed to get somewhere again. I've killed a bunch of new Metroids, and I've managed to finally upgrade some of my stuff. And so I think this is going to be the run where I finally actually beat it. And my God, is this fun? Like I just this really does just. I have always kind of struggled to get into 2D Metroid. You know, for me, like Prime is what got me into the whole franchise. But so like I've tried playing Super, I've tried playing Fusion, but this feels like the first 2D Metroid that really clicks with me. And I think a lot of that is just because it's just a very good action game. Like the shooting is very smooth. I love the counter. The counter kind of reminds me of another 3DS game called Shinobi. And it just feels so smooth to pull this stuff off correctly. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what Dread does with this formula. Because like take this game and put the power of the Switch behind it, I feel like we're going to be in for something. And in addition to that, I've also been playing a couple of recently obtained games like I finally went ahead and I checked out Luigi's Mansion. On 3DS. It's Luigi's Mansion on 3DS. It's fun.
Sure
It's
is.
something that I probably would have gotten years ago if it wasn't being sold at full price. Because, like the 3DS does add some nice little quality of life improvements, and it's just nice playing this thing on a portable 3D device. Like, I see why they did it. Because it looks good, it plays good. Let's see. I did also. So, in addition to all of that, those are the primary games I've been playing. I've also been experimenting with some homebrew stuff, like you can actually stream video footage from the 3DS to a PC.
I've heard this, yes.
And it doesn't really work good enough for me to feel comfortable like recording YouTube footage for it. But I feel like finally I can like maybe start streaming some 3DS games.
I'm guessing it's probably the biggest boon to like Pokemon players who, you don't need it to. Those games don't run well regardless, so
yeah,
sending it to a PC is probably not going to hurt it too much.
Yeah, but like for me, the biggest downside of doing it this way is that you just don't get 60 frames per second. It's not possible, even on the new 3DS, which is what I have. But you get 30 frames per second, and it's pretty consistent 30 frames per second. And so, like you're not getting like the full like frame rate from the actual game, but you're getting something that doesn't look terrible. And so I do think that once I start streaming more regularly again myself, if I'm probably gonna look into working in some 3DS footage for the future. Now I still want to actually properly mod one of my 3DSs for actual capture card stuff straight from it. But until then, like this is a fine workaround.
So I'm gonna do a quick roundabout for this. What has been everyone's I need to make my last purchases for the system purchases?
That was the last thing I was about to get into. Thank you for reminding me, because I kind of forgot I was going to do that. So, all right. So on the final day, I finally got around to my last purchases. I spent a little more than I was planning on, but I didn't go crazy like I did on the Wii back in the day. And so I went to the Wii U eShop first, and I picked up. Well, okay, actually, I went back and forth, but on the 3DS, the first thing I did was I made use of the Capcom 3DS sale, and I just bought all of the Ace Attorney games that didn't already own.
Yep, that's the number one thing that people have been getting that I've heard.
Like I already owned
90% off, so I can imagine that.
I already owned Dual Destiny, and I already owned the original trilogy. And I really want to play all of these games one day because I really liked the first one on the DS. So I bought all those. Then I headed over to the Wii U, and I picked up Zack and Wiki finally because it's $3. I love it. I want to tell Capcom I love it. And so, like, yeah, I finally bought it. Like, I remember I told you GX years ago that I feel obligated to buy this because it's Zack and Wiki, and you should never feel obligated to buy anything. And you were right, but this was $3. So I did.
Zack and Wiki for you sounds like Ghost Trick for the rest of us. It's like,
Yeah,
no, you have to play this, and we need to convince you to play this.
Like, that was just one of my top Wii launch year games because it is just the perfect. It is just like the perfect usage of the Wii of the Wii remote. Because it's just a spectacular point and click puzzle game with like lots of motion to solve the puzzles. It's very clever. It's very unfortunate that it never really got wider attention. But in addition to that, I also went through my wish list. I mostly just want to see, okay, what were the games I never got? And I ended up getting one of them because it was super cheap. Electronic Super Joy. I still don't know what it is, but it was the last game I ever put on my wish list for a reason. It was only $1.50, so I got it. And finally, and y'all aren't going to be happy with this. Like, I've always had a policy of, if it's possible, the first game I play on a new console is a Sega game. And so I thought, you know what? The last game I buy on this should also be a Sega game. But there's only one Sega game left that I had never bought digitally. And it was... I didn't buy it digitally because I thought it was going to be garbage. But it was $20, and, you know, I bought Sonic 06 digitally back when I was about to get delisted, so... I got Sonic Boom Rise of Lyric.
Okay. I mean,
So,
I don't hate that game.
I still haven't. Technically, that's the only Wii U game I currently own, so that's okay.
So, like, I finally, like, I've kept up my streak of owning all the Sonic games digitally with that. So, yay! Then I head over to 3DS. I discovered, oh my god, all these Sega games I'm gonna buy, I've apparently already bought years ago, and I guess haven't gotten around to playing them yet, like 3D Gunstar Heroes. And so I bought GG Shinobi, which is a very good Game Gear game that I recommend. And I bought it was the only Superscaler game I never bought from the 3D Sega collection, Super Hang-On. And so those were my final purchases.
Anyway, I had no luck with 3DS. I tried to connect it to my Nintendo. I tried to connect my Nintendo network to my Nintendo, account, and for some reason it just would not recognize it, or would say it's already activated. But then I check and it would show not connected. So I don't know. I could not get around that. So I could not get involved in any of the 3DS sales. So oh well to that. And as far as Wii U goes, my Wii U is still in storage in the closet. And even if I wanted to put it together, I've got all the wires and controllers separate in other boxes. So it would take me forever to get that thing going again. So I didn't even bother with the Wii U at all.
Well,
I tried with the 3DS, but no luck with the Wii U at all.
You might want to hack your Wii U and see what chip is on it, because depending on the chip, it might be a bad idea to keep that thing in storage for an extended period.
Yeah, that's what I hear.
Yeah, there's something weird here going on with certain versions of the chipset. I don't necessarily know if it's storage related. It might just be It might just be that it has a defined lifespan, we'll say. But
I'm hearing rumors that it could be fixed if you take it to a repair place. It could the thing can work out, I guess.
Yeah, I think Voltaire figured it out.
The poet.
For all I know, that screen controller's been in storage and had stuff on top of it. For all I know, the thing's probably busted by now.
Oh, I hope not. Well, I don't know. I didn't touch my Wii U for about a year, but it still works. So, I think it has to be an extended period of time, like half a decade.
I went with Apollo Justice, the Higher Grade Remake, because that was basically the only one I didn't have since I owned the DS version
Smart.
already. And basically all of the Game Boy Color Pokemon games to kind of...
Really?
I mostly did it because I have the Pokemon like storage subscription, so you know,
All right.
if I wanted to go back and
Yellow, and I'm happy with that.
that's absolutely fair. And then my issue was I kind of wanted to be a little bit more thoughtful about what I was actually going to get or do, and not just go in a panic. And the honest truth is, I have most of everything on the system that I would and could want, but the one thing that I sort of just kept putting off that I did finally get was WarioWare Gold.
Mars.
So that was the one that I felt like I don't want to pass this one up, because that one's gonna be worth it, even if emulation gets good. That's not going to be something that you're going to be able to replicate easily.
I should check WarioWare Gold out. I haven't really ever played many of the WarioWare games. Like just the Wii version, really.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, as far as I go, the only thing I could do is really download any games that I had deleted off the thing and re-download them onto the system. And so that's basically all I did.
That function should stick around for a while. I imagine that the primary reason why Nintendo does this is just the financial and security issues connected to keeping an old shop open. Then again, Sony has been able to keep their PS3 shop going for longer. But whatever, Nintendo doesn't operate like that.
Well, speaking of going back to old games, Shigs, Jason, what have you been up to?
Well, just 2 weeks ago, we had a retro game swap meet up here in Oregon, in Portland. It's called the was it Side Quest Games Expo Swap Meet, and a lot of who have a bunch of retro games to trade in go over there, and they sell from there. I picked up a few items around. There's mostly like a Sonic statue and some older games, but I was noticing like stuff like Genesis and NES homebrew games, and I also saw that they had a lot of Famicom games, and Famicom games are not that popular with collectors, it seems like, because
there's a billion of them.
There's a big plastic bins, and they sell them for 4 for $6 or 4 for $10 or even more for that. I'm like,
the problem is that's... number one, there's a billion Famicom games, and number two, there were so many of them over in Japan, and a lot of them are really, really bad.
I'm just waiting for when the collectors figure out how to make Famicom games worth something, because like they've managed to screw up every other part of the retro gaming market. Hell, I can't even get a 3DS. If I couldn't even get a 3DS for a good price if I wanted to anymore.
So I've been thinking, because I haven't, except for like the 7800, all my retro 8-bit and 16-bit games have been pretty much like on like one of those Android boxes or stuff, and I haven't really played any of my old stuff in a long time. So I got myself a Retron 5 recently. From one of the mom and pop retro game stores. There's a lot of them in Oregon. Oregon's a great place for mom and pop video game stores.
Okay, I'm going to interrupt you very briefly because I had to look this up. So you know how expensive normally like a NES cartridge of Super Mario 3 would be?
No, I don't. It's expensive now?
It's fairly... Oh, wait, is it? Now I'm not sure. Maybe it was common enough that it wasn't expensive. I was just looking at eBay prices. It's like $15 for the Famicom version.
Wait, that's cheap for Super Mario Brothers now?
For Mario 3?
Oh, gee, that's... Jesus Christ, Mario Brothers 3 is expensive now?
I don't know, maybe it isn't. Maybe I'm making stuff up.
No, like I have stopped following retro game prices for a while now.
Yeah, a lot of stuff is getting expensive. Like, I traded in a lot of my old stuff to on the retro game traders. I got like a ton of money in store credit and stuff, like hundreds. It's stuff I didn't realize was going to be worth anything. Like I had a copy of the Lone Ranger for the NES that was worth like $90 credit. I'm like, wow, really?
So,
Okay.
how are your Famicom games?
Okay. Well, anyway, before I get to film, I was going to mention I got a Retron 5, and it basically allows you to play Genesis, Mega Drive, Super Nintendo, Super Famicom, NES, Famicom, and its own separate slot because they were different sizes in their teeth, and then a little slot for Game Boy Color, and Game Boy Advance, all in the same slot there. Anyway, what it's not because it's not original hardware. What it's doing is it's basically an emulator, and when you plug in your cartridge, it's dumping the ROM onto the emulator part of it, and then you can play it from there. And the advantage of that is if you have older games that say the battery's wearing out and you need a save, it'll save onto there instead. So that works out great. You can also do save slates if you want to save instantly to a spot where you're having trouble, so you don't have to, game over after 3 lives. It's great for
It
that.
also it also does this interesting thing where, well, you can't play games off of the SD card unless you convert a ROM into a patch and then patch a game into another game and then play that.
Uh,
Not that I've
Yeah,
ever
but
done
where's the
that.
fun in that? You might as well, play an Android box or get emulators or something for that if you're gonna do that
I
right.
don't know. I guess my fun is get a flash cart, stick a bunch of ROMs on, then stick it in an actual
Well,
console.
Well,
yeah, that's the one thing. That's the one thing right there. It's not good for say either homebrew or some homebrew or some newer games that will do it, but if you got a cartridge with like 601, games, that's not going to work on it because it wants the original game with the original ROM in order to work.
yeah, I actually have a Retron myself with that special Master System adapter, and it is generally speaking serviceable emulation, but if you're looking for like super accurate emulation, it's not quite that.
No.
So,
It does allow you to also use your Super Nintendo, Genesis, or NES controllers
Yep.
to play, so that's also handy because the controller that it comes with is hot garbage.
Oh
oh
yeah.
yeah.
It's really terrible. So anyway, I have been starting to collect a slow, steady collection of Famicom games, but I should have got some at the swap meet, but I wasn't thinking until after I left the swap meet for that stuff. I still got some stuff dirt cheap. I got like a old arcade Popeye because I love that game. And some of the others I wanted to try to get Famicom games that you cannot get on the NES. One of them I'll quickly mention was a Shonen Jump 25th anniversary
Oh,
game that's kind of like an RPG.
I have that. I also have that. I got that from
Yeah,
a retro
and
store myself.
I think I got
yeah,
that
and
from Retro Game Treasure a few years
I
ago.
think
you
if
find
you ever,
characters from Fists of the Lone Star, or whatever it's called, and
yeah, I think
she's got Dragon Ball in it and such.
there's a fairly recent translation patch that came out for that, so that would
Yeah,
be
I
a
just
good.
saw that, so that's something I gotta catch because otherwise I'm using my Google Translate and hovering my phone over the screen to see what it says. Except for some reason, the dialogue at the beginning of the game, which is for some reason, it's completely in English. And it's telling you your Shonen Jump reader gets magically falls into the book. Basically, it's an above head RPG, but it's not turn based. It's just action. You're just punching and throwing weapons and stuff. It's okay. I can't really talk about it because I got a long way to go on that before I can really give me an opinion on that one. One of the other ones is King Kong 2 Ikari no Mega Punch, which is a great subtitle. It's based off the movie King Kong Lives in 1986, which was a sequel to the 1976-78 Universal King Kong movie when they did a remake. But it's a terrible movie, but in Japan, instead of calling it King Kong Lives, it's called King Kong 2. and King Kong gets an artificial heart, and he's looking around for Lady Kong.
Oh boy.
Because he dies in the first movie, and they bring him back by giving him an artificial heart. But he needs the blood of another Kong to keep going, so they got to find him a Lady Kong in the movie. But in this one, he gets up and just goes off on his own. And I don't think in the movie they had like aliens and other things to worry about. So it's from a above him perspective. I don't know if Akari means like Akari warriors, because it's kind of that kind of above head perspective. You can even jump on enemies, but that doesn't usually kill them in one kill, and then you get injured a little bit. But the whole ground shakes when you jump. Or you could punch, or you eventually get like well, not eventually. You also have a selection of boulders you can throw by selecting the select button and then tossing boulders at enemies that are distance, which is good for tanks and stuff. And basically, you're going through like the military bases, the maze area, and sometimes there's these big doors that go open, and you're into a dungeon with alien monsters all around that you got to look out for. And the dungeon areas are so close to like the Zelda 1's dungeons in terms of the way they're angled and everything, but the music sounds almost identical to the ones from The Legend of Zelda, which shocked me. It's a fairly fun game. I did get the first key to for Lady Kong's cage, and when that happens, is you have a little cutscene where it shows him dreaming about the pink Lady Kong, and it says "I love Lady Kong" on it. And then, but the problem is to go to the next level, you have to find it in the whole above ground, below ground dungeon area. And that's where things get really confusing. Plus, there's invisible walls where instead of having mountain ranges around the side to guide you, there's just areas where you cannot go any further to the right, or can't go any further to the left, or can't go any further up. And that can get kind of confusing. So it's kind of jank in that way, but it's not bad. I am enjoying that one. The one I'm really not enjoying at all is Astro Boy for the also done by Konami, but not developed by Konami. They just published it, and that one is one of those terrible licensed NES games because the simple thing is it's a platformer where Astro Boy can punch and jump really high. And basically, we have some criminals robbed from the Ministry of Science. They go off to the right, you chase after them. We have these large guns where it's one hit, one kill instant. So they got to avoid the bullets that they shoot out while you attack them. And you get coins to upgrade, I guess, later. But problem is, this Astro Boy's flying is absolutely terrible. And they got to a point very soon where I couldn't progress any further in the game. You have to jump 3 times in succession rapidly while forward. And then in your third one, while you're up in the air, you have to press up, and then you can fly. And the problem is that you eventually get to this area where there's ocean, and there's these 3 stone pillars right in front of you that you have to kind of like hop on all 3 and then jump off and fly. And for the life of me, I could not do that. The controls are terrible. The one hit, one kill part of it is terrible. So it was just pretty much an awful game all around on that end. The only other thing I've been playing that I've actually enjoyed quite a bit, because I haven't played this in forever, was Quackshot on the Genesis. That's with Donald Duck. And
that's a fun one.
Yeah, that's a good one where if you're playing it on Retro 5 stuff and you're doing save states, it helps.
Yes.
Keep the game
yes.
going a lot longer.
Very much yes.
Yeah, because that way, because it can be hard in certain spots, but if you don't go on instinct, and if you plan, if you keep going carefully, watch if you know where the spawn points are going to be at, you can do pretty good on that. And I've been enjoying that. You go from one Duckburg to Mexico, back to Duckburg to Transylvania and other places. And the other night I was playing it for like 3 hours, and I suddenly got hooked on it for quite some time.
It's a decent game. It's hard, but it's decent.
Yeah, it's hard, but it's a pretty decent game. I really enjoyed that one. And I think that's going to be it for me right now. I just got like Super Godzilla, and I'm trying that one on the Super Nintendo onto the Trump. I
Ooh,
haven't played enough of that
I
to
know
really
Godzilla had at least like
talk
one
about.
good SNES game or Famicom game.
Godzilla has a good I say Famicom, NES game. Uh, that's just the King. I think it's called Monster of Monsters, and that one's really good.
Hmm.
This one, it's kind of weird. You got to guide him through a city until you get to the boss, and then I'm not sure how I'm not attacking right, so I got to work on that game before I can really talk about it at all. But that's gonna do it for me. Just going down to old retro games this week.
Cool. Since we're already about 45 minutes in, I'm going to go ahead and really hammer through mine. I haven't had a lot of time to play games, so a lot of what I've really focused on is just like quick hit arcadey stuff off of Steam that I have. The biggest obsession right now has been a weird little we'll say new but classic styled arcade game
Oh, this
called
thing. I've heard of this game.
Donut Dodo. And it is definitely in the style of the black background Donkey Kong or Burger Time style games, but I would say the biggest difference is it doesn't feel as old. Like, you're used to classic arcade games of that era just kind of feeling, a little bit limiting or a little bit stilted, but you have solid air control in it, and the goal of the game is to collect all the donuts on the stage and then grab the big donut as a bunch of crap is happening on it and you are trying to avoid it. And the sort of the not nuance, but sort of the depth that it develops is through the bonus system, where if you happen to after you collect the first donut, then another donut somewhere on the screen will start flashing. If you collect that one, then it begins a multiplier and it creates another one that's flashing. So you can go ahead and just grab whatever's in front of you for no score, or you can try to zigzag around the stage in order to build up the maximum possible combo that you can manage. So with that in mind, like, it's pretty neat. It's fun, it's a bit addictive, it's not too long, but it's also been hard enough that I've probably played several hours for it, and I haven't really beaten the, we'll say, easy-medium mode yet to unlock the medium-hard, but gotten close. I've gotten close. The other game I have been playing that is sort of old and arcadey is Wild Guns Rearmed.
Is that just an old game that got a arcade accurate port?
So yes and no, I think. I believe it actually does have a few more features in it, because it has 2 additional characters, which you get a character that is just a dog. And well, no, it's not just a dog. I take that back. You get a character that is a dog with a drone, and you sort of control both of them as a pair. And there is a large woman that sort of does charge explosives. And instead of it just being a maximum 2-player game, it now supports 4 players. So, it's pretty neat. I really like it. It is thematically one of the most striking arcade-style games that I have ever played, whether it's on the SNES or arcade or actual home console, because basically the theming is hard sci-fi in a very, like, dedicated Old West theme. So you are like one of 4 Old West characters firing guns at, like, giant mechs and robots with guns for arms in these, like, high-tech western cities, and it's bizarre and it's strange, and it surprisingly works for game where you have to use a D-pad to move a cursor around a screen, because everything on it is chaos anyway. The other sort of distinct aspect of it is you aren't just... It's not like a light gun game where you're just pointing and shooting. Rather, you do have a character that you are also managing the location of. I'd almost compare it to something like a Sin and Punishment, where, yeah, you have to hit things, and that's the best defense. But also, like, you actually have to regularly dodge attacks. Usually through, like, a quick dodge or double jumps or whatever is needed to just, like, not take damage, because it's one hit, one death in that game. It is hard. It is a hard game, but it's such a cool game. It is such a cool game.
Yeah, this is a game that's been on my radar in some capacity for years. So I should probably give it a look when it's on sale or something.
Very, very good on Steam Deck. Very good on Steam Deck. So, as we are talking about things that are good on Steam Deck, I don't know what this thing is what this transition is supposed to be. It got out of hand, but we're gonna shift over to some news. How's that sound?
Finally, we're gonna talk about the Mario movie.
I wish it's soon. It's soon. I'm gonna have to see it while I am traveling or something. Oh, fun times.
Good luck.
I'm going to have to see it alone. And my brother and the sister-in-law are going to do a anime convention during that time. We were originally doing Tuesday at midnight, but then that didn't work out too well.
So I don't know, Alex. Why don't you kick us off with the news?
Well, so Iizuka got promoted to a new position within Sega, executive officer, specifically Sonic Creative Officer, Sega of America. And on the other side of things, Yuji Naka has admitted to insider trading.
Two halves of the same coin.
Yeah. And like this happened with these two things happen within a day of each other, and it's just it's kind of funny, honestly. Like, man, like the co-creator of Sonic is probably going to jail or something, or I don't know. I don't know how it works over in Japan for this stuff. While the current head of Sonic team is like just getting a cushy new position.
It's kind of worth mentioning that it's about this year or last year that Iizuka, in terms of actual time heading Sonic team, Iizuka has passed Naka in his overall time as head of Sonic team. So
yeah.
You figure if the changeover was in 2006-ish, then that's 1991 to 2006, and then 2006 to 2022. It's about like 15, 16 years. So
Man,
it's been a heck of an era.
Yeah.
And like, I imagine a lot of this has to do with the success of Sonic Frontiers, which did very, very well. We
might as well jump ahead in the show notes and say, this Sonic Frontiers has sold over 3 million units now, making it like the second most successful 3D Sonic game ever. Like only Sonic Heroes is ahead of it now, at least in terms of the official numbers. The only aside from that is just some stuff from the Genesis era. So Sonic is just doing insanely well right now, and Iizuka, like I imagine he's got at least get some of the cred for all that.
Hey, between like that and Kishimoto, the Kishimoto situation has been real weird though. Just trying to keep up with the things that he has been saying on Twitter. Thankfully, that seems to have slowed down a bit.
It seemed like he was just really getting into just like engaging with fans and sharing things and getting feedback, and it's weird seeing anyone from the games industry be this open on social media.
Well, I mean, normally, like, that... Number one, I'm always worried whenever people are getting feedback in that manner, especially, we'll say, whenever Sonic Team is supposedly listening to fan feedback. But,
I mean, like I like to keep saying, fan feedback got a shadow with a gun.
yeah, it sure did.
But I don't know. like,
Uh,
like,
but yeah, it's, it's, for, I guess my stance continues to be, I have so many issues with Sonic Frontiers, but at the same time, I think we can all agree it's sort of a step that needed to happen for the health of the franchise.
yeah.
And
I mean,
it's kind of nice seeing that it's doing that well.
We've often, at least I've often compared the game to Unleashed, as in like the first step in writing the franchise. And Unleashed is another game that sold pretty well and was released widely across all platforms and experimented with a new formula that pleased a lot of people. Although, like, just going by what I remembered from back in the day, like the Frontiers feedback has definitely been more positive than Unleashed was. Unleashed was way more divisive back then.
I played Unleashed recently. I did not have the misery of a time playing Frontiers as I had recently going back to Unleashed. And it will say in both versions of day and night. Unleashed has mean level design. Like, it has so much gotcha level design where it's like, oh, you didn't know this was coming up because the camera is so pulled in forward? Well, sucks to be you then. Enjoy this spring that takes you to death.
So Izuka will be officially taking his new position in a few days, and it's going to be located in Sega of America, which I find interesting.
It's been living there for quite a while now.
Yeah, and so like basically like this is gonna be like finalizing stuff that they've kind of been building towards for a while, I suppose.
So I guess let's talk about that first update then.
All right. So like so we got wave 1 of the Sonic Frontiers DLC. What was it? Psych, Sounds, and Speed.
I don't know, some weird title like that.
And like it was really nice going back to Sonic Frontiers and like, you know, I guess having an excuse to engage with it again. And I've got to say, out of everything, the thing I'm finding the most addictive are the 2 new challenge modes. There's the, I forget what it's called, the Enemy Rush challenge mode or something, and the Cyberspace challenge mode. And it's kind of frustrating in that you have to get an A on each challenge mode in order to advance to the next one. And that's hard. That is very hard. But on the other hand, I must admit I'm having a lot of fun perfecting my runs through these 2 modes.
You like Nights into Dreams.
Yes, I love this time attack stuff.
You like awful progression systems
in a way that a Sonic game hasn't done for me since Generations, I think. Like, you know, like Generations was the last game that really kind of gave me an excuse to kind of try to perfect my run on something. But like what I do appreciate is that like both of these modes are also pretty short if you're gonna get A. Like, you know, if you're past 8 minutes in boss rush, you're not getting an A. So like so you don't necessarily waste much time trying to perfect your runs on this stuff. And I have managed to advance through both of these modes. I haven't managed to like get to the final one, which will be running through everything all at once. I'm really looking forward to that. But it really just kind of recontextualizes um, the gameplay in a way that I really appreciate, especially cyberspace challenge. Like I love going through the stages back to back, like a classic like a classic Sonic game. Like it is just so fun, just zipping straight from one level to the next. And I'm really looking forward to getting to that final one where I get to do all of the cyberspace challenges throughout the entire game.
I am probably the thing I have probably enjoyed most about it is number one, the quality of life updates, being able to, not have to worry about going to the Elder Chow or whichever
Elder Coco.
Elder Coco. I said Chow. And have to do it one at a time, which kept me from getting the 99.
Yeah, instead you can
levels.
just do it all at once now. Like you just go, you give them everything, and you're done.
But also, I kind of dig the jukebox stuff, and
oh yeah,
not obviously you and I are going to have different opinions on which songs we would like to listen to in a Sonic game like this. Dramatically different opinions on this.
I mean, for me, it kind of depends on what I'm doing in a given moment. Like if I'm running through, if I'm just running across the landscape, not doing anything too cool. I like to play something with some ambience, like Deep Woods from Black Knight. But if I'm like running through a speed stage area, and like I'm like I don't know, I'm like going across grind rails and destroying enemies, all that stuff. I'm gonna want something with more energy, something with vocals, like I don't know, I don't know, open your heart, or something that's just energetic but non-vocal, like I forget what it's called. Like I think Missouri's in there.
Yes,
Missouri's pretty cool.
I believe so. It's very they've have a good selection of things that sort of tonally fit with this, and also several vocal tracks.
One thing I like about this is that when you're hunting for music, usually the music that you can find in those levels is kind of relevant to that level. Like I was doing the jukebox mode, and while I was on Knuckles, island area, and they're usually like either Western or desert themed, as far as the ones you can find and unlock. And I kind of like that because then it fits that kind of environment to listen to that kind of music.
Like you get stuff like Lava Reef and Red Mountain on the Chaos Island, and you got all these desert-themed ones in the desert level. Although I've noticed that it seems like they are at least somewhat randomized, because I collected the same musical notes GX did, and I didn't get Live and Learn on stream, which was very disappointing for me.
Well, that's actually pretty amusing, though. Maybe you just lucked into very appropriate songs, Shigs.
But I still got stuff. I still got lots of cool vocal themes like Fist Bump.
Yeah, cool themes, sure.
Fist Bump, yes, that's very cool.
Yeah, Fist Bump's awesome.
Nothing's cooler than oh geez, I can't even remember the lyrics off the top of my head. They're so stupid. With
it's subjective.
But I will I will sort of
who actually likes it.
I will sort of trail on that though, because the thing I am enjoying about the jukebox isn't necessarily the music as much as it's a thing out in the world to collect, and it's not something that you really have to interact with the bizarre, repetitive platforming stuff that this game has. It's just sort of like, I don't know, set a destination, get there, and...
It reminds me a little bit of Assassin's Creed Black Flag. You go to different towns and you can collect sea shanties. You have to chase them down, then you can use that when you're out at sea.
I don't think I did
that. A lot like that.
I guess so. I could have been listening more a larger variety of sea shanties.
In Black Flag, each island you go to, There's sea shanties you can chase down, then you can listen to that
Well,
while you're,
regardless,
sailing. Anyway,
I'm gonna really enjoy having this thing once the other DLC comes in that lets me gives me more to do in the actual main game. But it's also gonna be a nice thing to collect while I'm playing through it on the Steam Deck for the first time. So that's gonna be cool. Because for me the main thing about the jukebox that feels kind of disappointing is that once I collect the tracks, I feel very little motivation to spend any more time in the open zone areas.
Well, that
And that's the only place where you can listen to the music.
yeah. Although the next update does seem like it will have more open zone content. So
Oh, and there's one piece of DLC we all keep forgetting. You can change the Cocos into Easter eggs.
Oh, I was thinking that you were talking about photo mode, which
Oh, and photo mode. Yeah, there's also that, which I did use a little bit. That's cool.
I saw some people get into it, but I'm not someone who really gets into photo modes in games like that, so I kind of don't have anything.
Depends on the game
for it.
I will say this: the quality of life improvements those were based on fan feedback.
Yeah, like the older Coco and such.
So, technically, that is an example of Sonic Team applying fan feedback appropriately.
I would hope that wasn't a result of fan feedback, because that's just a freaking basic design thing.
Yeah, they also turned off the slot machine.
Well, you get the option to turn off the slot machine.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Why you would do that?
You really like going to fishing at Biggs.
Well, yes, please, yes, I do. Please, slot machine all the time.
It does get a little old, in my opinion.
No, it doesn't. You shut your mouth, you liar. It never gets old. You can catch a spring, man. You can catch an item box or some other thing. Oh, now it sucks that you also have to catch fast travel, but beyond that...
Yeah, that's annoying.
So, yeah.
Still annoying that fast travel is only for the Cocos and only after you go to Biggs.
Oh no, it's also
the cyberspace levels after you've played every single cyberspace level, not just the ones you've beaten.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, I don't know. Why don't we talk about some merch, because there's quite a lot of merch going on.
So much merch.
And
Infinite is a toy now.
Infinite is a toy now.
Be one with.
And he's appearing in the same thing as Cream. So, you can buy a Cream and an Infinite action figure and have them have tea or something.
It's both ends of the angst spectrum.
We've also got that classic Sonic capsule playset. And those giant toy rings, and this is all just really cool. Kids today keep getting stuff that I wanted back in the day. They get obscure characters as plushies and toys. I'm gonna get that Infinite action figure, and that's probably partially because I didn't get stuff like that when I was an actual child, and I was like, oh my, this obscure Sonic character that I hate is a toy. I'm getting that.
I'm gonna get this thing that I hate.
I don't know. I do kind of like Infinite's design in some really weird way, even though I know it's flawed and bad. It's I don't know. It's still a new Sonic character design that you don't see in merch very often. That's just activating a part of my brain. I don't know how to explain
get him if Catherine would take off the helmet and have him just as the Jackal as well.
Oh, you probably won't. You almost certainly will not.
You know what I don't want is the capsule toy playset, but that's partially because I just don't have the room.
Oh, I need to get that one. That. Oh, that will go so well with the Eggcraft set. It looks so good.
It's a playset that goes with the 2-inch figures. I'm definitely in that because that's my main collection is the 2-inch.
Yeah, I'm not with the 2-inch, but I am with these really with these really nice like recreation of actual game stuff. That to kind of go back to like toys versus then versus toys now. The biggest thing is like back in the day they didn't really make Sonic toys based on the games per se. They were just sort of based on the broader Sonic brand, which is why you sort of got weird cross-pollination with like Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehogs and Sat-Am, but
Like
not
you did not get any Satam merchandise. Like the
you
only
would-
Princess Sally toys you got were like the Australian
well,
Sega brand.
I think there actually was some things back in the day that I got that were associated with her.
Well, like I know there was that one child's book that like made the sounds, and
Yeah, I
she was
had
in
that.
But in terms of like actual, oh, and she was Pogs. She was also Pogs.
And
But in
I
terms of
think
like
she had her
actual
own
toys,
there was like bubble bath stuff with like little finger things that you got, and there was like one of the different characters, and I think she was included with it because she kind of, for the Americas, she was sort of the proto what Amy would become
yeah.
in that like, hey, we need to have the girl character, and she kind of fit that bill, so for better or worse.
We never like got action figures or plushes outside of like in a store.
Yeah.
Anything Sally related is also just stuff that you can print.
Like
Was
when it
able to be
comes
printed,
to
basically.
Sonic toys, it was mostly Sonic plushes, maybe the occasional Tails plush.
It was a lot
And
of weird inclusions of her in, like, Sonic board games in the UK. Like, the UK, she was all over the place, near as I could tell, except for the actual Fleetway comic.
And like there was also this weird like Hot Wheels crossover that Sonic was in. Or I think it was Hot Wheels. Might have been Micro Machines. I don't know. But like yeah, but you guys didn't really get much, and now you're getting everything. But we're also getting some super weird stuff, which
Tell me
so
about it.
I got to report on this, and I didn't have to, but I wanted to.
It was
And
gonna be one of us. You know it was going to be one of us.
There was there is this Turkish company called I'm gonna have to pull up the
The spelling of it is DEDE, whether that's Dede or Dede.
oh, yeah, there's this Turkish company called Didi, and they essentially I guess they got the Sonic Prime license or something. And instead of making anything that remotely looks like Sonic toys, they essentially just took a bunch of Sonic Prime decals
Images.
and stuff and stuck it on a bunch of generic toys for preschoolers.
Yep.
And so we just like have some really weird stuff like the Sonic Medical Set Truck, which is a Sonic truck with a Sonic Prime sticker on the side, Sonic eyes on the front, and is hauling a gigantic medical box full of giant tools. And there's like that.
There's a lot of like sort of art that's implemented on it, but there's absolutely like no meaningful synergy between what this product is and what it is licensed with. Like,
What are you talking about? Sonic is all about medical tools, you know?
yeah, but not in Sonic Prime. That's
So,
more
like-
of a IDW thing.
So like you have medical tools, you have tools, you have a suitcase full of tools. And of course you have this like Sonic My First Car, and the very first thing I saw, which didn't seem completely off-brand for Sonic, was like this Rogue set.
It didn't,
And,
but it's
like-
also very generic.
Yes, and like basically, I did a deep dive on this website. Like I spent an hour writing this thing, and basically what they do is they take these generic toys that they are making for other things, and then they slap other properties on it. They've done that for Spider-Man and Mickey Mouse. And but Sonic seems to have gotten the most out of any of the brands I noticed.
There's a lot of stuff there.
Yes.
There's a lot of stuff there, and a lot of it is like repeats. Like a lot of it is like, oh, this is just the case, or the case in truck form, or the case on its own. But it's amazing just how little effort is in this to be a product.
And like, as you can see, there's Rusty Rose right there, just like her stickers on the red one, which I guess in the original version was probably like the girl character or something.
Well,
I don't know.
there was the great part is in the non-branded version, they just have art of characters that sort of fit that body shape of the figurines themselves. Whereas here, they just, like, made the background red and just slapped them on. As if that's acceptable to do.
But I am increasingly feeling bad for Sonic merch collectors, because there's just so much more coming out. And it's like, some of it's really cool, but some of it is this stuff. And it's like, you are going to have to import this stuff from Turkey if you want to own it.
Don't get me started on the
And
cost
there's
of
also
stuff.
like Sonic craftable toys, which are like Sonic toys that you put together, which I also reported on. They look way cooler than this.
Yeah, they're all right.
But yeah,
Right.
but
I've seen them, seen ones like those at collector shows. Like even GameStop had the classic Sonic ones, and this one seems to be more of a modern one. Only the toys can actually fit together to create one scene if you can get them all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's how these craftables work. You like. Oh yeah, they sell them in blind boxes, which I hate, so I'm never touching these. But if you get the whole set, you like can put them together for a larger thing.
Yeah, I mean, if you want something small scale like that, I like that. I would say this: I don't love it, but I do like that. If there's anyone that is probably worth it, it is the Tails one, because number one, they have him flying, and number two, he seems to come with the actual Green Hill palm tree.
Yeah, he does.
So
I don't know, like I guess like how all the toys look.
they're cool. They're not bad. They're not bad. I don't think I would want them, but also I'm out here buying Jack-specific recreations of classic Sonic scenes. So what are you gonna do for me? So speaking of, Shadow, as he is wont to appear in figurine form, we have a little bit more information about, I guess, the way that he can be treated going forward. And it's not a lot, but for Sonic fans, I'm guessing it's enough. So we're gonna call this the lore block.
Sonic Talk lore block. So Shadow's characterization in IDW has long been a point of contention, because Sega has been like really weirdly strict with how he is portrayed. And so like it sounds like it was less, apparently like they'd only say you can't portray him doing this, like you can't I don't even remember what Sega wouldn't let him do at this point. Like I think they originally, like, Shadow was supposed to react to the Zombots like he had an actual brain, instead of just being I have no weaknesses, grr, and then like he just gets himself zombified. But anyway, so Stanley confirmed that there's more workable guidelines now.
Basically, to put it bluntly, the scenario that they expressed was that they were originally working on the past guidelines and got notes back that, hey, you could do this for Shadow, it might be that way, and those notes were kind of more akin to what they wanted to do in the first place and have him act. So it's not like it's going to like drastically change Shadow's character, but it just kind of moves him from, I am doing things because I am mad,
Grr.
angry.
I am Grr.
Yeah.
I am supposed to be the Vegeta.
No, Gur is a very different character than Vegeta. But yeah, but it just sounds like, hey, he does think he's the smartest guy. But he also treats that as like, well, of course I am.
So Sega wanted Stanley to have him showcase his intelligence, pragmatism, and a capacity for strategy in the future. So
That's
no
good
longer
to hear, because I have never liked his character pretty much.
So he's not just going to be like this boneheaded tough guy anymore.
Except for Sonic Adventure 2.
I guess it sounds like he is anti-hero Zavik. Like, that's the way that it would sound to me, quite honestly. He thinks he's of course I'm the strongest and the smartest and all of these things. It's only logical that I am all of these things.
Yes, and his pride is a non-judgmental statement of facts. So still very
of course
cocky,
it is.
I guess.
So is mine. My pride is also a non-judgmental statement of fact.
Oh, that means you're Shadow the Hedgehog.
Of course. All hail Shadow.
So, I don't know. For me, my main issue with Shadow really is that we don't know why he does what he does. We know why the other characters do their things. Generally, they're good people who want to help the world and stuff. But I don't know why Shadow is doing anything.
I think
he has no motivation.
He wants to save the world, but he just wants to do it on his own rules, the way he wants to do it. He doesn't have. Basically, he's like a hero without a lot of morals.
I certainly I don't know. I don't really get that from his character.
To kind of, I guess, the way I sort of interpret it is you can't really separate the character of Shadow from his relationship with Sonic as they've sort of defined him, because they kind of are attempting to fulfill the same broad space in that world, with the only core difference being Sonic is messy and impulsive and wants to, enjoy what he's doing with it, whereas Shadow takes it very seriously as a duty and does not like things messy and is probably willing to go a little bit more intense than Sonic ever would.
I think just my main issue is I don't know why Shadow wants why.
I don't think Sega knows.
I don't know why he's a hero. I don't know what motivates him anymore. It's just there's nothing there for me to latch on to.
The broad understanding that I sort of have is that he is trying to protect the world that Maria loved, but
that would be fine. But is apparently Maria's not supposed to play a role in it anymore. So I don't know.
Shadow the Hedgehog the game Shadow the Hedgehog caused a lot of problems that were only
so did Sonic Heroes.
Well, so did Sonic Heroes, so did Sonic 06. Basically, any time Shadow, the fact that they felt I don't know. Shadow's weird. And I still don't think they have a plan, but also, he's a popular enough character that, what are you gonna do?
Popular enough character that they could take the next Sonic Frontiers game and give him a stronger focus to actually, give him a motivation and a reason to be around.
I guess.
And he plays like Sonic. So, anyway. So yeah. So,
we've been to Burger King lately. They have some Sonic fast food toys, basically.
Yeah, that's right. It's TailsTube.
Okay, so we are skipping that.
Yeah, we're not talking.
Okay, we're skipping. Let's skip the Burger King toys. They kind of stink anyway.
We're in the Sonic Talk lore block. We're not going to jump over to Burger King.
I forgot we were in the lore block.
What lore are you gonna get from Burger King? The time that Sonic was in the Burger King Kids Club? I'll tell you what, they never let Sonic in the Burger King Kids Club. They were like, hey, we've got the kid with the crazy future glasses. We don't need you.
According to Burger King, there is a version of Amy Rose who is just a
cube?
Who is just a maze cube.
A sentient maze cube.
Yes.
Perfect.
So the new TailsTube, it was cool. Like it confirmed a lot of things, some of which we've already known, some of which we didn't. Like for one, there's a multiverse. There's a Sonic multiverse.
Well, no, hold on.
No, they didn't confirm.
They did not confirm a Sonic multiverse. Tails speculated on the idea of a multiverse.
Basically confirming it. Otherwise, they wouldn't bring it up.
No, they didn't by the letter. I mean,
number
one,
making your fan characters canon.
Number one, we know there's a Sonic. Well, actually, I'm trying to think. Aside from Archie, do we know of any sort of multiverse that does contain Sonic? Because you figure Sonic Prime, as it exists, is sort of an isolated space.
Sonic Prime is not a multiverse. Sonic Prime is a single universe splintered by Sonic's and Eggman shenanigans when they broke that crystal. Like that's all that is.
But it's universes within a universe, which is a multiverse.
Outside of Archie, there's never been a Sonic multiverse. Until now, because Tails basically confirmed it so far as I'm concerned. So when they were talking about the multiverse, they showed a character, a Sonic who had his limbs wrapped in bandages, which is basically Sonic Boom, but not quite.
It was a series of jokes. They were making a series of jokes. Although
it was like a Sonic Wisp.
Yeah,
thing.
that's not just a Wisp. That was Sonic Yacker, because Yacker is the one that has the twirly bit on top. So for some reason, they made Sonic Yacker, and it is suddenly my favorite thing ever. So yeah.
So I do hope that they do something more with this at some point in the future. Like, so far as I'm concerned, this at least cracks the door open a bit, where they might start thinking about acknowledging other parts of the franchise.
The problem, okay,
the movie.
I'm gonna stop you there, because what and how?
I don't know.
That's kind of it, because what. It doesn't matter if there is a multiverse or not. It's like how you use it. Do they have stories about the multiple things?
Just let IDW do what they want.
That's not going to happen. We're past those days.
But I don't know. They could at least do something. They could at least do something with Sonic Boom and the Archie reboot stuff, probably. I don't know.
No, they will absolutely at no point ever reference Sonic Boom again beyond what they just did, because Sonic Boom is capital DEAD dead.
Oh, I wouldn't put it past them acknowledging it in some capacity one day.
As a side joke, but what we'll do is we'll get art at some point down the road after enough time has passed that nobody actually cares. In the same way that we had to decide between, do we get art from Elise or do we get art from Sonic and the Black Knight's Merlina or something weird like that, where it's like it's fan service, but you don't need to justify fan service in that way. I just don't like. It's the same attitude I have with the concept of canon. It's like, canon doesn't matter unless you use it, and they're not really using it yet. They're not really interested in using it yet.
I do think that eventually Sega's going to start thinking about, how can we do more stuff with nostalgia? And one way to do that is to start acknowledging other parts of the franchise that older fans have some nostalgia for. So I don't think you can ever say never with any of this stuff, even Sonic Underground.
Hold on, Alex. I want you to point to a time in the history of Sonic when they did not pander to nostalgia.
mean pander even more
After
to nostalgia.
2004, they have never stopped
shocked.
pandering to nostalgia, sir.
I didn't imply that they ever didn't. I'm saying, like, this is another way they could do it even more. That's my point.
Well, I'm shocked in the Sonic Frontiers jukebox mode they didn't include the Green Hill Zone music.
Oh, they can't. They'd have to
That's 'cause
pay
of
for that.
licensing.
Yeah.
Dolius is telling at least one of us to hold on. I don't know because I said that they'll acknowledge Sonic Underground one day.
No, nobody will ever acknowledge Sonic Underground in any meaningful way.
Just wait until I own Sega. It's gonna be nothing but Sonic Underground.
God.
Anyway, there's more stuff to talk about in this. So,
is there any more stuff to talk about anymore? Like, or did we just kill it all?
Like, Sonic doesn't have a home anymore. I mean,
he's
Sonic
just
doesn't have a home period. Like,
he's just he's just like a hobo. He just travels wherever and sleeps under the stars and what have you.
Which, in fairness, like that is like pretty much what we've seen him do. Like in Sonic Adventure,
I mean, even his home at Sonic Boom is basically just a big hut with a
doesn't even have a door
in it, and that was about it. No door. Yeah.
My favorite part of this is it struck the weirdest fan conversation that I have seen, where everyone is freaking out trying to figure out. But then in the events of Sonic and the Secret Rings, where was he? And it's like, I mean, obviously he was like in some other person's house. Does it matter who?
I don't know. Maybe he's crashing with Professor Pickle.
Well, that was in
the TailsTube, they said Tails often crashes at Tails' house just for the heck of it.
It could be literally anywhere. Like
Sonic goes to Tails' house, sleeps there, eats his food.
Yeah, Sonic is totally a moocher, and Tails is an awful enabler.
But it just feels so right for Sonic because like this is the same Sonic that. Like in Sonic Adventure, he's just relaxing because sleeping under a tree in Mystic Ruins. It's just what he does. He just lays about.
Yeah.
And I forget if they discussed anything else of note.
They basically did confirm. They confirmed that classic Sonic is Sonic from the past, and they sort of
it's from another dimension because I found that very annoying.
Which I approve of that. Very nice. That's how it should have been to begin with, but I'm glad we're just fully back to that now.
It was weird when they suggested it, but also, I don't know. Like I said, they didn't have a sense of... They never had a good sense of, like, the world of that game's for a long time.
Something I've been saying more and more recently on Twitter... Whenever Sonic fans are talking about characterization or whatever, is that there is nothing consistent about Sonic game storylines. It's basically just whatever is convenient for Sonic Team in that particular game. That's what they go with, and then it can just completely change the very next game. And that will hopefully change soon, but that's how this franchise has operated for 30 years.
Yep, it's just a matter of convenience. Like what's good for us for this game, that's the case. It's a little bit removed from how Mario is approached, but it's not that far removed from how Mario is approached. But we've got some things that are very removed from how Mario is approached because we have some new, like, higher quality footage of some classic, I guess you could call them classic at this point, classic Sega tech demos.
Yeah, and it was really cool seeing this stuff. So, and it was a massive flashback for me. So this stuff came from Adam Dorey, who was the founder of this website called Kikizo, which was a fairly major game website back in the day. And they had a lot. They had a lot of connections with Sega. And so they'd cover a lot of Sega stuff, and that included showing up for Sega's Tokyo Game Show demos. And they uploaded basically Sega's entire TGS presentation in full HD, something
off screen, like HD, yeah.
Off screen, mm-hmm. But still, like this was footage that they could not have uploaded in this quality back in 2005 because the internet just couldn't handle it. So like he's like curating all of Kikizo, including over on his YouTube channel. And this was stuff that he uploaded just earlier this month. And it's just so wild seeing this stuff this clearly. Like, this is really good for off-screen footage. Like, the colors are a little washed out, but you can make out a lot of stuff that you couldn't before. And I gotta say, Fifth Phantom Saga, that really does look kind of garbage. Like, I understand that was probably an early prototype, but I can see why that project died like less than a year after it was announced. Because especially just like a first-person shooter where you're where you also control this phantom that moves objects around, and it basically gets like looks like an inferior version of Silver's gameplay, which I apparently Fifth Phantom Saga's stuff was eventually worked into Sonic 06 via Silver, as I understand it.
Well, I do at least miss, for what it's worth, I do at least miss the era of times when Sonic Team would make games that were not themselves Sonic games. But
yeah,
I don't think
even if they weren't always the best, it's nice to see them expand.
Like Fifth Phantom Saga just feels like quintessential mid-2000s Sonic Team because it looks creative and crappy at the same time. Like, they were clearly trying, but this looks rough, and I'm not 100% confident they could have ironed all that out.
What are you saying about Billy Hatcher, Alex? What are you saying about Billy Hatcher?
That it was a very flawed platformer that had some interesting ideas.
Screw you. If you get, I actually don't know if I would like Billy Hatcher these days.
But like with Sonic 06, we got to see not just the tech demo trailer, which at E3 had only ever been seen behind closed doors. We also got to see like the entire tech demo of Kingdom Valley, including demonstrating things like the shifting time of day stuff, which that is something I distinctly remember seeing back in the day on my old Dell desktop and thinking, oh man, this game looks so cool. This is going to be so awesome. Yeah. And of course, that was among the things that was just like cut from the final game.
Were you with me that E3 when you got to play the actual 06 demo?
I was not at E3 2005.
Okay, I was. And yeah, the video of that was great when I actually got to sit down and play, and it was one of those automatic run stages. I was like,
ooh,
oh, this is not out good. This is the best they have to show. I'm really worried about it.
I assume this was E3 2006, right?
It was 2006 or 2005. No,
probably. 2005 was just the behind closed doors trailer.
It came out January 2006, right?
No, it came out November 2006.
Okay, so they had to have been 2006 then.
Yeah.
Because I remember they had the display unit of it, and they had like Sonic, Silver, and Shadow statues. But yeah, they had an automatic run wing, and even then I was like, ooh. I hope they can really put it up to par back then.
What I find interesting about the demo of Sonic 06 that I played off of Xbox 360 is that, like, I remember I had a lot of fun with that one. Like, I played through the Kingdom Valley Sonic 06 demo many times. But, like, apparently
there's a Kingdom Valley one, and there was an auto run that was from one of the later stages that just really didn't hold up.
Yeah.
Well, unfortunately,
the demo was better than what we got in the final game when it came to Kingdom Valley.
Yeah.
Well, fortunately or unfortunately, we won't be seeing any Sonic presence at E3 this year because Sega will not be going to E3.
Yes, which, like, I wasn't going to go this year.
LA vacation anyway.
I wasn't going to go this year, so this doesn't dash my plans any. But woof, like. It really does sound like E3 is just done, and I have been so resistant to that for years.
What is even there?
But at this point, like, everyone's dropping out. When you're losing Sega, like, who do you who's going to show up at that point? And That's just that's just so depressing because E3 was so accessible to tiny fan press like us.
Well,
Unlike the
okay.
Summer Games Fest one, which we were not invited to and we didn't know about because, of course, we aren't major press.
Well, I mean, for people of our size, that would be something for like a PAX. That
But
would...
like Sega doesn't really like bring their premiere new demos to PAX. Like, you know, they've never like debuted a new game at PAX. It's always been E3. And that just isn't a thing anymore, apparently. And like I'm not confident that Jeff Keighley's thing is going to be able to replace it. I hope I'm wrong.
I don't
but...
think we're going to have a replacement for E3. I think we're just going to have what we currently have, which is a bunch of smaller, engagement-driven, direct-to-consumer events where, you know, just pre-produce a video and show people. I
just hope that press, and small press like us specifically, still gets a chance to play
Yes,
the early
Alex,
demos.
we all know you want to play games early that other people don't get to play.
Oh no! It's also a matter of coverage for Sonic Stadium. Like this was like E3 was one of our big ends. We're getting coverage, and like if we lose that, that's really gonna suck.
If we lose it, then we're just gonna have more of these Sonic Centrals to cover. Which, sure, I guess. But
yeah, the last Sonic Central we got was really worth it.
Just realize now that I'm in Oregon, I have a good chance of going to maybe PAX West when it comes out later this year.
I mean, that'd be cool.
Because it's usually in Seattle, right?
I think.
And another thing about E3 is that I could use that to get interviews, and we interviewed a lot of people, Shigs and I, and that was like how I re-upped my contacts whenever someone left the company, which I haven't been able to do for years. I only just recently managed to get myself back on their press list like a week ago. So I don't know, like hopefully that's at least resolved.
Yeah, I was thinking, you know, we can go to. I can go on Sonic Revolution.
Oh, you are really coming in bad right now. You have to repeat what you just said.
Oh, sorry. Let me back up away from the mic. Sonic Revolution, and then maybe even Super Nintendo World over at Universal. But without E3 there, that kind of I gotta watch how much vacation time I do, because I still have to take my mom's ashes to Canada, and then I have San Diego Comic-Con as well. So
I have none of that. Like me speaking as a consumer, I've really only heard two sort of responses in terms of E3, and it's either like people who just want to have E3 itself to stand as the pillar of like press events, and to some extent, I get like the appeal of having. This is the press event that is the press event that has the biggest things. And quite honestly, like, I think that's fulfilled through these smaller videos and stuff like the Game Awards. But then,
stuff like Nintendo Direct pretty much killed E3. Like, if you can reach your audience on YouTube, you don't need to have a big stage to have a bunch of, you know, for your fans there. You can get hype without having to go anywhere.
Well,
just do it on a stage your own place.
The other half has kind of felt like just nostalgia for what E3 used to represent. And unfortunately, it's not just a matter of like, hey, this happened all at once, or this happened because of COVID. Let's keep in mind, E3 has been downhill for the better part of a decade. The ESA has done such a terrible job at trying to please like the presenters and the press and the public and trying to manage all three of these and just doing an awful job. Think about how many times they've just doxed people out of absolute ignorance.
It happened twice.
It happened twice in 2 consecutive years, including the year that was all online.
But by the way, when we get to Sonic Origins, we do have some news, but so
new news?
Yeah, new news. But
did new news just
keep going.
Break? Okay. Yeah. No, let's do it. Let's break some news. What's up with Sonic Origins?
Okay. Well, Headcanon is happy to announce that they've cooperated with Sega to update Sonic Origins.
Oh, okay.
So they are the ones who have been working on this stuff.
Cool.
And it's let's see. So so they are the ones. So okay. I'm just going to read verbatim. So we were excited to hear that Sega wanted to make Amy playable, and we couldn't resist the opportunity to help her into the spotlight. So let's see. Her sprites were made by at a Stark show, and it sounds like her design was handled by at-pad SPD. Knuckles is playable in Sonic CD, so they also got Knuckles playable in Sonic CD.
Oh yeah, that was in the trailer.
Yeah. So like, well, yeah, no, but what I'm saying is they are the ones who are working on all the new Sonic Origins Plus content. So, and that just broke. Like,
imagine that's anything that's not Game Gear.
Technically, it broke like an hour ago, but I only just saw it. I'm gonna retweet this.
Oh, good.
Real quick.
Perfect. Enjoy that. Yeah, it's Sonic Origins Plus seems real good to me. Like I would say it is probably, how should I put this? The biggest problem I'm facing is I already really like Sonic Origins Plus, which kind of sets me apart from the loudest people in the fan base who have done little but, complain constantly about, well, it doesn't have this, doesn't have that, and not really acknowledging, like, it has some big quality of life updates if you really get down to the nitty-gritty of it.
I love Sonic Origins Plus, and I admit, it's a shame that it's a little buggy. But for me, that is my experience. It is a little buggy.
I am excited to get a physical.
It has crashed out every now and then.
I don't think I've ever experienced the crash, but...
And I encountered a bug in Sonic CD where something crashed it, I think. And of course, Tails, his ability to follow in Sonic 2 was broken at launch. And I know that I don't know if they actually like fix it or if they just kind of did a half measure, but like, that was basically the extent of it for me. But like on the whole, my experience with Sonic Origins is very good, and I am gonna get the $10 DLC because it has a lot of stuff I want.
I am going to get it on Switch because I want a physical edition, and I think that's pretty awesome that they're doing one with a reversible cover and an art book. So
I am happy for you. I am not touching the physical edition myself.
This will be my well, thankfully this will be only my second purchase of that game because I'm usually the one who buys several different versions of the same Sonic game.
Yes, you do that. But yeah, so like Amy is playable and Amy looks really good. Like her sprite looks nice. I'm liking like how they work the hammer into.
Yes, I was about to say I like that they have her spin with the hammer instead of using it to just smash on the ground and everything.
Like that just makes so much sense to me.
Try to do, yeah, it makes more sense.
I had this issue whenever people were annoyed initially that like, oh, are you telling me I can't play as Amy in Metal Sonic? Why would I buy this game? And my feeling on that is kind of, I need to be convinced that like Amy's going to be significantly different, because if you break down like, we'll say the nature of characters in Sonic Mania Plus. Like, you have Sonic, you have Tails, who has access to vertical flight, which is pretty significant, but doesn't really have the speed whenever he's participating in that. You have Knuckles, who has the gliding and the climbing, but has sort of a reduced jump. Both of those are still very empowering things. Ray feels drastically different than both of them because he does use the Mario flight, which means you can still ascend, but you need to have, enough space to work with. And Mighty is just sort of empowering in that there are a lot of spikes in Sonic games, and being spike immune is actually really useful.
Yeah.
Amy, I'm trying to think of, like, what would be really defining about her, and I'm hoping it's not just going to be, well, we replicated aspects of how she is presented in that single Sonic Advance game, because I don't... It was a good novelty at the time, but I don't really feel like that's as interesting in gameplay terms as some of the other options here. And again, we haven't seen enough to really define that, but, you know... It nags
For
at
me,
me.
I'm just happy to have a new playable character. I'm happy Exami. Like that's like so long as she plays
about what they're
good,
gonna do with your
that's all I
Metal
really
Sonic
want.
Kidnap Sammy cutscenes and how they change that up.
I mean, don't forget.
I'm sure that Amy's gonna rescue herself or something.
No, don't forget. Amy was removed if you play as Tails in Sonic CD. She just wasn't part of it.
Yeah, okay, that's probably what they'll do then.
Yeah,
or Metal Sonic kidnaps Sonic. Sega probably wouldn't allow that.
Probably not. But yeah, it seems like for $10, it seems like a pretty good package for what you get out of it. It's nice.
And in addition to the playable characters, you also have Game Gear.
You get a bunch of Game Gear games. Like, it's not the first time.
And this makes me very happy because, like, there are some very good games in that collection.
There's some okay games in that collection.
Like the first Sonic, like Sonic 1, I really enjoy that. Sonic Chaos, Sonic Triple Trouble, Sonic Drift 2, Tails Adventure. Like there's some fun stuff in there. It's so nice, like having a more complete vision of Sonic's classic days in this collection.
I think I think it's foolish not to have Game Gear Sonic 2 and not Master System Sonic 2.
Yeah, I will say that.
So you'd have a more wider screen, Sonic 2, and plus.
Okay, if they don't include the Master System ROMs, that's gonna be a massive missed opportunity.
I mean,
I really need to include the Master System versions as well.
Why? Why would you
do? Because the Master System versions are better.
They're okay. So okay, I will first off start by saying I think there are okay Game Gear games. I think Game Gear games sort of top out at a pretty low spot, and I am saying this as someone who, generally speaking, really likes Tails Adventure, but Game Gear Sonic is interesting, but I would not say there is a Game Gear Sonic game that is as good as a comparable NES game. Like, I just don't think it's a lot of these games stand up under scrutiny.
I generally like Triple Trouble more than
Sonic
Mario's NES efforts, but
I play Triple Trouble. Triple Trouble's fine, but Triple Trouble, all of the classic Sonic games have a series of issues. Number one, Aspect has this obsession with freaking insufferable vacuum tube mazes that are miserable
really
to get through.
With that in Sonic Blast too.
They can't replicate the feel of playing Sonic on Genesis in a satisfying way. They kind of can make okay platformers, but they can't actually make Sonic feel like how you would want Sonic to feel.
I like how Sonic feels in some of these games. Basically, the only one where I don't really like how he feels, I guess, is Sonic Blast because he's so goddamn big, kind of breaks everything. I think they replicate him for the most part pretty good.
No, they don't. No. I strongly disagree.
Admittedly, I am coming at this as someone who played these games as a child, but I do think that several of them still hold up quite well.
That's like saying Mario Land Mario controls like Mario 1 Mario, and it simply does not. Not in the slightest.
I really feel that. I think it's just after all the Game Gear games, it just had the Game Gear games be the one that were exclusive to Game Gear. Where Sonic Spinball and Mean Bean Machine have them be the Genesis ones, Sonic 1 and 2 have them be be Master System one.
I do find it unfortunate they didn't at least get Spinball and 3D Blast in here as well. But I don't know.
So, all that said, though, I guess I'm coming around to this to make my point is the reason why there's no Master System version, I expect it to be twofold. Reason number one, then you only have to have one emulator instead of having like two separate emulators. Yes, you can tell me that there's
games
They're
work
not
on a Game Gear emulator.
They're not the exact same though. They're not the exact same.
No.
They're
I
still
mean, like,
different.
the Game Gear literally plays Master System games. Like, all you need is a cartridge pass through in the original hardware.
But
And
hold on.
Same hardware, pretty much.
I have seen that pass through, sir, and it is not the same because you have to physically change the resolution and it makes it look terrible. Second, nobody cares about the Master System aside from really weird old Sega fans. Like, nobody does. People care about the Game Gear. The Game Gear sold fine. Nobody cares about the Master System
versions is because you get wider screen resolution.
I get that.
The games play better. These are better versions of the games, so they should be included.
Alex, I get that, but
I mentioned the reason why.
Alex,
Sonic 2 is insufferable, and I will not play it again.
No, Sonic 2 is insufferable on every console. It's bad. It's a bad game.
Insufferable on the Master System. Like that second stage is still garbage, but like most other parts of the game are way more playable with the better.
But Alex, yes, those are better versions. Aside from weird Sonic fans who care too much, nobody. You could say, oh, we have these Game Gear versions and these Master System versions, and everyone is going to say, what the F is a Master System? Because nobody cares about the Master System, except maybe some weird Sonic fans, and I will also say some weird Sonic fans that tend to originate in Europe, where a lot of those games were exclusives.
Well, I will say this about the Master System's inclusion. I think the primary reason why you'd focus on the Game Gear and the branding is because in the U.S. and Japan, the Game Gear was way more popular than the Master System.
Yeah, like I said,
but like
Sonic 2 and Sonic Chaos never came out.
System versions and like just mention it in the press release or something. Like, I'm not saying that you need to like advertise this stuff. It's just a matter of quality of life. In terms of like making multiple versions of these games playable that do a work on basically the same hardware.
I don't think it's like, I get the decision not to, because then you have really weird messaging whenever you say, well, we have all these games. Like, I'm not saying that it wouldn't be a better experience. I'm saying that there's not a way to sell that in any meaningful way. Like,
personally, I would not be surprised if there's just like a Master System option and we just don't know about it yet.
I think you're overplaying it. Sonic Origins is a game that has, for its entire life, been you get what you see. They have sold us on every possible feature that they have had in that game. They have marketed every feature that they've had in that game. It is a game with absolutely no surprises. They have told you everything that's in it, and I don't think that this DLC is going to suddenly change that.
But the DLC isn't coming out for another few months, so like there's plenty of time to introduce anything. Like smaller features.
We'll get the Master System trailer. You get slightly more pixels for these games that aren't the games that you probably want to play.
Oh, it's way more than slightly, but regardless.
Funny how they announced it this early, but there's already, because, our last show, there's already leaks going around, and I think that's partially what it affected it, or they had to announce it.
I agree in the sense that the Master System isn't something that you would sell people on. But that's why I could see it as something that they just reveal in like a Japanese exclusive
Alex,
stream, did with a bunch of Origin stuff in the run up to the actual game.
Alex,
like,
you
a lot of stuff we learned like just a few weeks before, man.
I want to highlight, you sound like the same tone of the people who are saying, well, surely they're going to have the Genesis version of Sonic 3D Blast and Sonic Spinball in the core game. Like, obviously, they would have something like that. They're not going to have it.
Obviously, I'm just saying I wouldn't be surprised.
I would be quite surprised, because I think they know that it's just not going to be a feature that people are going to be interested in. I am all for having these games on the collection, if only for the sake of game preservation, but also I just don't think that, like, you sell people on saying, well, there's a Master System version, because, again, nobody remembers or cares about the Master System, except Europeans and Sonic fans.
Honestly, no one cares about the Game Gear games aside from Sonic fans, so I'm not even sure why you're
Yeah,
making
but
that
people
argument.
have at least heard of the Game Gear. People, broadly speaking, remember the Game Gear for better or worse.
And then you say, oh yeah, there's these better versions of these games you haven't played before. I don't know.
Yeah, and you can only
We're
get it
going in
by
circles at
importing
this
games
point.
from Brazil and Europe. Because
I
remember,
would not expect them, I would not expect to see Sonic Blast Master System, even if they did include those.
because remember,
versions.
I will highlight, Sonic 2 and Sonic Chaos for Master System never came out outside of Europe. It might have hit Japan, I don't know, but it primarily hit Europe. So
yeah, they were European exclusive.
yeah, like it was what, a really bad version of Sonic Spinball, a kind of okay port of
I keep forgetting that got a Master System port.
Did it or did it not? I thought it did.
It did. Like, I guess got reminded of that a few days ago.
Dolius is asking, well, wouldn't this be a good opportunity to introduce some people to the Master System? There is no good opportunity to introduce the people to the Master System. The Master System, I'm going to be controversial here, was not a good console. It was not a good console.
Disagree.
Because the NES.
We had a solid enough lineup here and there.
Did it?
And it did.
Yeah.
It was
Did
successful, more successful in NES in certain regions.
Yeah!
For a while, anyway.
In, like, Europe, where everything's topsy-turvy, and they've had really weird European games for the longest time. Like, you can't tell me that somehow the Master System holds up in any meaningful way. What is comparable to, like, the best of the NES on Master System?
In America, it did not do good at all, to the point where I think the Atari, from what I read, the Atari 7800 system, not the games, outsold it.
We're going to have a conversation offline where you explain to me what the Master System greats were.
The greats?
The greats of the Master System. Dorius is saying, you could say that much about the Virtual Boy. Yeah, the Virtual Boy was also not a good console.
Actually, the Virtual Boy did have some solid titles itself.
Yeah, like 2 of them. It had 2 good games, and one of them was a Wario game.
Red Alert, Tellero Boxer, Wario. Mario Tennis was a decent enough tennis game. Like, nothing amazing.
Who cares?
But it's fine.
What are you gonna sell it on? Oh, Mario Tennis. It was. Let me tell you about this decent game.
Like, for me, the Virtual Boy was at its best was when it was making use of its 3D visuals in games. But regardless,
the Master System had Alex Kidd,
now.
therefore it is a miserable failure. I think that's the proper assessment of its place in history.
Nah, Master System had good games.
Again, I don't think the data points to that.
That does. I guess it didn't have a huge library.
Let me play this
games.
awful port of Fantasy Zone probably was fine. It probably could handle Fantasy Zone.
Fantasy Zone was absolutely fine. So was Fantasy Star, which is what I thought we were talking about for a minute. But regardless, do we want to move on to the next news item?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. What is the next news item? We've been jumping around.
I think we're approaching 2 hours, so I guess there's like 2 major things. So let's call this the Sonic crossover block.
Oh yeah, okay.
So first thing that we've got is hey, do you remember Hyenas? Probably not.
No.
Because Sega has done a really weird job advertising it. And
I think technically it only just came out or something.
No,
I basically heard about it when they revealed this.
No, it's in alpha or beta or some preview thing, but apparently one of the hero classes that you'll be able to get it is Hero Co, who has the ability to, I guess, camouflage himself as enemies in the game, but then also he just regularly looks like a really weird Sonic cosplayer wearing a strange, like, big, flashy helmet.
Sonic Man from Sonic
Well,
06, basically.
like it's a cool character design. I'll give it that. Like
a
when
little
I first
Sonic
saw it, I thought
motorcycle
it was
helmet and a Amy plush on his side.
when I first saw it, like I didn't think it was real, and then I thought, okay, so like did Sega team up with some other publisher for some like South Korean game? But no, it's a Sega game, and it's like the Sonic branding is official. It's like guy in a Sonic costume carrying a gun with all these Sonic plushies hanging from straps and stuff. It's like it's fun, like, and hearing that it's a hero shooter, and there's like apparently it's based around what's the word doing heists on Mars, and there's like 0G combat and stuff. It sounds unique, at least. You know, it doesn't just sound like an Overwatch clone.
It's like I said, they've done a very bad job trying to present whatever this thing is. They had some sort of weird teaser that just sort of fizzled, and I am vaguely interested, but I am mostly vaguely interested in the realm of, well, it's a Sega game, and it's from a developer who had something cool before, but they're not really selling it to me. They're not really selling it to me very well. Hopefully, they will figure out a way to do so.
Way off, and that's the reason.
Well, like, I don't know. Like, I've never really been into hero shooters, but I'm willing to give them a chance. And if this is like a free-to-play game, like Overwatch 2, I might give this a chance.
Oh, that sounds miserable. I don't know if I would want it as a free-to-play game.
Well, I'm not going to spend money on it. So
I will enjoy. I sure hope this game is free, because I don't want to buy it. Great.
Like, I don't know, like, if it's like something where, I don't know, I can play it, experience it, and then decide to check it out later, like a demo or something, maybe. But I just don't want to spend $60 in the off chance that this might be the one that gets me into this genre of game.
Yeah, but
although
hey,
what I will be spending money on is the Samba de Amigo Party Central, which is getting Sonic.
Yep, Sonic's gonna be in it. I'm looking forward to this game. Do we have a date for it yet? We probably do.
It's the end of June.
Cool.
We like so like this. So it's interesting. Like the Sonic keeps having a closer and closer relationship with his franchise, because he had music in the first one, and then in the second, and then the Wii version, he popped up in Green Hill, and now we've got Sonic popping up in City Escape, and he'll be dancing to Fist Bump and Escape from the City, and I approve of both of those choices.
Well, I mean, I think let's be real. At this point, they will put Sonic. Sonic has been and is going to be in everything at this point. Like, Sega has just opened the floodgates and say, hey, if you have any interest at all in using Sonic for your branding in any way whatsoever, yeah, go for it. I mean, like I said, we just talked about the weird way that he is going to be present in Hyenas as this sort of avatar of a character. Just completely, like, they're not designing this unique they're designing a character to wear a full Sonic costume complete with additional plushes of other characters attached to it. Like, I've played they're using Sonic in a lot of games, and I think there's a weird sense of it makes sense here, but they gotta be careful to not to overdo it. Like,
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
there's so
I am still shocked that we didn't get Sonic in Fortnite. Like, I was just expecting it last year, and it never happened.
and
Sonic with a gun.
Yeah.
yeah.
Like, that's probably would be an example
Oh
of taking
yes,
things too
Sonic.
far.
I don't think so.
It's neat. I like it. I think that this is something that's appropriate, and it does call back to previous Samba de Amigo games. There's just the nagging anxiety in the back of my head, is like, they gotta be careful because they can't put Sonic in everything. Because if they put Sonic in everything, that's just gonna devalue Sonic being in things, or it's gonna create a weird expectation of, well, he's just going to be in everything. And as someone who is personally, dedicated to playing things that have Sonic in them, that's going to be very frustrating.
Yeah, that's what makes me kind of hope that this just gets worse and worse, and they just start sticking Sonic and all sorts of crazy nonsense, because you're going to have to play it. It's going to have to go onto your list.
It's going to have to go on the list.
You're going to have to play this Hyenas game.
Come on, I need to read through Sonic, like, choose your own adventure books for the stream. Come on. Give me time.
At least you have an excuse to play Samba de Amigo Party Central.
That's also true. I would like to play Samba de Amigo Party Festival. I would not, however, like to listen to Fist Bump. I feel like I could do without that aspect of it.
Well, hopefully the game will make you, so...
I think that is all the news that is fit to print. There's a lot of stuff that we did not cover, but there was so much in this month that, it was so packed. There was like Kids' Choice Award stuff. There was
Tails' first 4-figure statue, which I don't care about, but it looks cool.
Fleetway's 30th anniversary. Sonic Frontiers won a absolutely worthless Famitsu award because no opinions that Famitsu expresses are worth anything. I'm really coming out hard tonight, aren't I?
Yes, you are. You are being very mean. Very mean.
Especially
to the Master System. It did not deserve that. But Samba
No, it
Amigo
deserves
version
everything
2000 got a fan pack, which I hope to play that before the next show so I can talk about it there.
One thing I forgot to mention is that at the swap meet I did get Zippy the Porcupine homebrew for the Atari 2600, which is basically a demake of Sonic the Hedgehog for the Atari.
Is it better or worse than a Master System game?
That's bad. Maybe a little worse.
It
does a good job of emulating the music, surprisingly.
There are not many good.
Jason, what
you
need to do is you need to play it, review it, and then you can talk about it next month.
I can let a GX Pro, and it can have it on almost every Sonic.
No,
I think
that's not an official Sonic product.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's about time for us to head out. It's been about 2 hours. You try to keep things under the 2-hour mark, and failed.
Yes.
As I went on I was gonna, I'm good for one tirade every episode, and I guess this week's episode's tirade is, you are all fools to like the Master System.
And yes, and my tirade is, you are very wrong and mean.
Go play
cruel.
Snail Race. And that wrestling game where the box art is just a man's head.
Oh yeah, that's the
the U.S. Master
he's a
System
headless
box
guy.
art.
He's
hilarious.
clutching his own head.
I don't say this stuff out of ignorance.
Headlock.
I own a Master System. I still feel the way I feel about it.
Yes, you can be informed and still be wrong. I'm not gonna argue with you over.
You're
that
informed
part.
and wrong all the time.
I do have a
you
toy
are
review
probably
video
wrong.
I recorded that I need to edit and get up. It's nothing much. It's just like a selection of small Sonic toys. One of the Burger King toys, Charlie B. These little disc shooters that they sell for $1.50 at the Roshi outlet, and this guy.
Speaking of editing,
the rings, the electric rings.
I need to get my first Sonic Stadium short up. I've had that thing sitting on my iPad for a month now.
So I think what we're saying here is, hey, keep an eye on over on our YouTube, because apparently there are videos forthcoming. Beyond that, hey, as always, Sonic Talk is part of Sonic Stadium. Go check it out at sonicstadium.org for Sonic news, opinions, and various other things. I've got streams that will eventually come. Streams have, once again, been slightly delayed by factors outside of my control. However, we're doing some pretty significant work, and we've got some pretty significant. I've got some pretty significant ideas on what we would like to do. Although apparently, we may also have DS games in the future. So, hey,
3DS games.
3DS
I don't know
game.
if I can do DS yet.
So with that, hey, thank you guys for being on.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Okay. No, at
always-
the same time.
I always like to thank people for being on their own shows that existed before I did. So,
Right.
so with that, hey, peace, everyone.
Yep, see ya.
See you around. Alrighty.